Well, hello everyone, and welcome once again to our next codon ring. This month's codon ring, the next ring is the codon ring of matter. And this ring is about testing, experiencing, and interacting with the outer world, and whether man can bring his inner world, his inner beingness out into the physical plane through his expression, or does he ignore his inner being? So the gene keys that are in this codon ring of matter are 18, 46, 48, and 57. And the timing of this, we're going to start this week, September 21st. We are starting with gene key 46. September 27th, we move to gene key 18. October 2nd, we go to number 48. And then on October 8th, we round this ring out with number 57. And so what is the Hebrew letter that holds this entire ring of matter? Well, it is the third Hebrew letter of the alphabet, which is Gimel, number 3. And let me show you a picture of that. See here. So here we are. This is little Gimel here. And Gimel is made up of 2 other letters, as most of the letters are. In the middle, we have the Vav, or number 6, which represents the spine. And then above and below, we have 2 yods, which is number 10, which represents divine spark, a divine spark. And so we have a divine spark above and a divine spark below, representing the upper and lower worlds. The upper yod represents, of course, Shiva, the unmanifest, unity. And then the lower yod represents Shakti, all of creation, all of manifestation. It represents duality. And it also represents it has a phallic symbol here, but it represents the sexual energies of man. So, so there you go. So we have this Vav, the Vav in the middle, number 6 in the middle, which represents the spine. And what number 3 is representing is the balance between 2 apparent opposing forces. So we have unity and duality, and the balance of the third element in between. So number 3 is a balancing force of 2 opposites, which is the law of 3. I think I'll stop sharing now. Let's see. Let me move some things around. Okay, so before we talk about the law of 3, just as an aside, a little Hebrew stuff here, Gimel can also be pronounced Gimal. I'm probably not saying this right, which means camel in Hebrew. And what are camels famous for? Their humps, which are their spine. And so we have spine, but also the word Gimel in Aramaic means bridge. So here again, we have the spine acting as a bridge. And we have to remember those 3 wise men? They didn't ride in on horses, they rode in on camels. That's why they were wise. And of course, the spine here representing our central nervous system, which is the throne or the seat of our spirit, our inner being, our true self. Okay, and oh yeah, and this is also where we get the saying comes from, it is easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than a rich man to enter the kingdom of God. Of course, if you're in touch with your inner being, you can go through that eye very easily. But if you're a rich man, meaning seeking material wealth, you cannot enter the kingdom of heaven. Okay, so moving on to the law of 3, which is what the 3 represents. This law, if you don't know, is the law of the universe. It's like the law of 3. Nothing would exist without the law of 3. And the law of 3 is, of course, that you have 2 opposing or complementary forces. such as an active and a passive force, and that we need a third force to bring those two into a new creation and transform it into something new. So we have active, passive, and the third force is that neutral force, or awareness, self-awareness, or inner looking, okay, or being in touch with your inner being. So let's see, for example, to just give you an example of this law of three, take, for example, the law of attraction, or just starting a new project. We have an initiating force. You start a new project. And because we live in a dualistic reality, then of course, once you start a new project, you will always be met with the opposing force, which is some kind of resistance will show up. And oftentimes, many times, we all give up at this point. It gets to be too hard. And this is what this number 3, this Gimel, is all about, is whether we have the ability to hang in there and bring the third force in, the third element of neutrality or trust, or just letting things be, to bring this new project that you want to start, or thing that you want to manifest into creation. So this third force is neutrality, resting in awareness, calling on the Holy Spirit, or it also represents, do we have the will? Can we muster up our will to keep going when things appear to be resisting us? Okay, so the number 3 also is ego will versus divine will. So it's all about will and free choice. Do we have the what are we choosing? Free will, that's the word I was looking for. Okay, so this number 3 also represents the 3 elements of creation or transformation, which are air, water, and fire. And in the Hebrew alphabet, we have what are called 3 mother letters. This is just an aside. And those 3 mother letters are number 1, Aleph, which is air, the number 13, Mem, which is water, and the number 21, Shin, which is fire. And those are the 3 mother letters, the creators of the alphabet. And I wanted to bring those into this conversation because we can see these 3 elements in these 3 elements of transformation in our own meditation, particularly if Kundalini is active within us. So first, we have the first element of air through our breath, the initiating force. And then, of course, as if you've ever tried meditation, what are we met with next? Resistance, or something comes up. So that's the second force. And maybe that whatever comes up, we're getting in touch with something we don't want to face. Maybe we have a little tears. So we have air, and then we have water. Maybe water might come later. And then oftentimes what happens, we give up, we get frustrated, and we can't sit still, and we just want to quit meditation. We say, it doesn't work. We can't do it. But what are we missing? The most important element of our meditation is waiting and calling in for that stillness. So after the breath, you get the resistance. You've got to find that place of stillness. And when stillness arises, you will oftentimes, particularly when Kundalini is active, you will be, I know you've experienced this, be met with heat rising up in your body. Okay, so this is the fire rising up. And what that tells you is whatever came up before, if there was something that came up like a fear or something and you had a little cry, that heat that is rising in you, that's an indication that transformations and changes are happening within your subtle body. And that thing is burning off, or something in your karmic load is being burned off due to your stillness. Okay, so meditation is really the only place where you can begin to burn off your karma. Okay, so what else do I want to say? So maybe you didn't have tears before, but what does that heat bring? It brings sweat because it's usually so hot you begin to perspire. So then the water comes and it cleanses and it purifies us. So meditation is such a brilliant way to transform and use this law of three, but we have to remember the most important element is to give it time, go past the resistance and get into stillness and wait for that fire of transformation to come up, to bring in something new. Okay. So what else is the three called? This Hebrew three, Gimel, is often called the running man or the one who has started to walk. And this is because, like I said earlier, this number, this ring is all about our physical interactions and our physical actions out into the world. Do we have right action, divinely inspired action, or ego action? But it also relates to the physical attributes and actions of the spirit spark or consciousness that is now evolved as a human being. And here's what I mean. I'm going off on a little tangent, but I think you'll enjoy it. So as a little spirit spark, learning, going through its evolution, first a spirit spark starts off and you're in a group soul and you learn to focus your consciousness in one position in a horizontal plane. So say that's a rock. and there's many different levels of this, but then next time you move along and now you're in the plant kingdom, you're still in a group soul, but you're learning to grow horizontally and now vertically. Okay. And then you move to still in a group soul, animal kingdom, but now you've got all kinds of movement, horizontal and vertical, and lots of physical movement. And then domestic animal, perhaps that's the next step. And what happens when you're domesticated, the animal is domesticated, it is beginning the individualization away from the group soul. I am going somewhere with this that will relate to this three. And then that individualized soul now will manifest as a human being where the consciousness, your evolved consciousness, now has to contend with horizontal, you try saying that, horizontal movement, vertical growth, self-awareness, all kinds of action and free will and choice. So there's a whole lot going on. This is why we call it the running man, because he's very active and now he's running all around. He has self-awareness, he has free will, choice. What is he going to do with himself? So, just being in human form, you've come a long way, baby, as a little conscious spirit spark. So nothing to gawk at. Anyone who's in human form really has evolved their consciousness, but there's more to go. There's more than just being a running man with his head cut off and doing whatever his lower body tells him to do. We've got more to go. Anyway, so moving on. So the three is also called rich man, poor man in the Hebrew tradition. And it's because you're a rich man if you're in touch with your inner being, and you're a poor man if you are not. So let's tie this all together. I probably worn you out already. So what is the three, this number three entail and this ring of matter? It entails the law of three, the three elements of creation or transformation, which are air, water, and fire. It represents changes, transformations, and it represents how we interact and experience and test our physical world, our outer world. Are we purely externally focused, materialism, sex, just pure survival? Or can we unite the upper and lower man via our spine, our inner being, and create and get in touch with the third element to bring something new into the world, authentic expression? So that's the basic of what Hebrew number three is all about and this ring of matter. Now let's dive a little bit deeper into the psychology behind number 3. So the psychology behind number 3 is the number 3, I guess it's motivation. Let's see, what would you call it? It has a drive or a need to feel valued and worthwhile. So this number 3 can be motivated in life, can live a life in search of validation or confirmation. And so its biggest fear would be the fear of being worthless or of having no value. And this comes with a lot of shame. The 3 carries shame. However, the greatest gift of the 3, when it's working from its inner being and inner expression, is the gift of authenticity. You are expressing from your true inner feelings and inner guidance out into the world. So authenticity is the 3's greatest gift, authenticity in expression and action. So this is a very action and physical ring and letter. So the number 3 functioning at its optimal level is being in touch with its inner being, of course. That's the most important. You are a rich man if you are in touch with your inner being. And therefore, when you are in touch with that inner being, you have intelligent right action, because this comes from the 3rd ray of creation, which is active intelligence and will. So we have divine will, and then we have developed our willpower. We are in touch with that 3rd element of stillness. We have authentic and inspired communication, and the number 3, a lot of singers come from the number 3. So it brings singers that sing from their heart, right? You are able to skillfully and heartfully use language and your words, excellent communicators. You're very active and very adaptable. I'm having a tough time with words today. You can adapt to changing situations very easily. I know I'm going to make you laugh in this video. Positive 3s are very charitable, inner-directed, always looking to be their best and to do their best in everything that they do. They have very high standards, but these are high standards based on spiritual laws, not ego laws or ego judgments. They are very self-assured people, often highly physically attractive. They're very magnetic. They have the power of manifestation. Why? Because they know how to bring in that 3rd neutral force. They are always looking to evolve, learn, grow. They're very playful. They don't take life too seriously. They have fun. They laugh. They love to help others succeed and achieve their goals. They are some of the best motivational speakers. They're great motivators for others. And they make some of the best teachers and counselors because they teach from their own experience. So gnosis, they have true gnosis, knowledge from experience. And they are often, because of this ability to manifest and the trust in that 3rd element, they are quite successful in business and in the material world. They are often quite monetarily very successful. Okay, so isn't that a beautiful number 3? Now, here's the shadow. In the shadow, let's see here, move my little notes up. So the number 3, when it's not feeling its best, it suffers a lot of shame of feeling worthlessness. I don't have any value, okay? And this leads to things like self-criticism or judgment of others, falling victim to the victim mind, which this all comes from the fear of your inner being, fearful of going within, and this is gene key 18. And then they can be over serious, which is, your fear of the physical world. You don't feel safe in this physical world that you've incarnated in. So what is that? Gene key 46. And then, of course, we have gene key 48, which is you're just feeling totally inadequate. You don't have any self-worth. You don't know, you just feel inadequate. Gene key 48. No, nothing else needs to be said. And then we have gene key 57, fear of the future, which is worrying, a constant state of unease or anxiety. And so, with all these fears from these gene keys, here are some of the behaviors that manifest in the shadow frequency. These people can seem to be always performing, seeking recognition. They can be overly competitive or extremely competitive and overly image conscious. The 3 represents vanity, the vanity of vanities. They are totally vain. They seek too much material success, achievements, awards, all that sort of stuff. They're workaholics, status conscious, and in everything they do, they have a premeditation. Like they're doing it for a reason, but it ain't for you, it's for them, okay, to get something back. They always seem to be marketing themselves. They can be, or often, emotionally detached or cool. I mean, that's obvious because they're not in touch with their inner being. And it's very easy for them to tell lies, to talk too much, especially about themselves, because they're trying to seek confirmation or affirmations. Or they may not talk at all. The shame of their lack of self-worth is too much, so they become extremely shy. But on the other hand, of course, they can be show-offs, kind of this hustling nature, and they have a total lack of self-awareness, selfish, and need I say, they are narcissists. So narcissists come from the number 3. Okay, so we can now understand how a narcissist manifests. It comes from their fear of being worthless or inadequate. Okay, let's see, what else shall I talk about? I know I'm talking too much, but I hope I am sharing with you some authentic expression from things that I have learned. Okay, so for the next couple of weeks to look out for, to be aware of during this codon ring, I think it's about a month. First of all, this is a very physical ring, the ring of matter. It's about activity. So be on the lookout. Are you being overly active, overly busy just to be busy because you don't want to get into that 3rd element of stillness, of looking within. So pay attention to your physical actions. And then I think the first week, the first gene key that comes up is 46, which is this week. And that's all about the physical body and the blood. So how do you perceive the world, particularly through your touch? Does your body feel safe? If yes, then your blood runs warm and smooth. But if not, your blood's going to run cold and coagulated. And you're probably going to you're living with some kind of agony or ongoing health issue. So this is something to think about. Do you not feel safe in this environment? So this week, check your safety. How does the world feel to you? Then the next week, we have gene key 18. Are you absorbing the negative thoughts of the collective? And you will know you are if you find yourself judging, complaining, or gossiping. Okay. And of course, all that judgment is self-criticism, but we project it out. And we tend to, people that are in this mode, judging, complaining, and gossiping, they are seeking their identity through those judgments and complaints, because if they can point out what is wrong or what they are not, then they know what they are. I hope that makes sense. Okay, so that's 18. And then the 3rd week, we have gene key 48. How and where do you feel inadequate? And remember this week that you can't remedy this inadequacy by getting more information and studying more and learning more and getting more knowledge. This will not resolve this fear. You must dig deep into your inner well, go back to that 3rd element. You're tired of me saying this. You've got to go within and get in touch with that inner darkness. That's the only way your inadequacy is going to fall away. And then the final week of this ring of matter, how do you handle the sounds of life, what you hear? So this gene key is, does the sound of life make you feel uneasy because you don't know what's coming? Like, does everything, this is all unconscious, but do the acoustics of life make you feel like there's a train coming at you all the time? So it makes you feel uneasy and anxiety because you don't know what's coming next. So the only thing I can offer for this is you have to remember the future is never going to arrive, right? Nothing is coming because it's all here right now. So you're safe. You're here right now. You're here with me. You're here with everybody, and you're safe. And so you can go ahead and open your body to the acoustics of life. And let the wind of this gene key or this hexagram swirl around you and let it clear away the anxiety. And then you can stand in your own clarity, the clarity of now. Okay, so that wraps up this codon ring of matter and Hebrew number 3, Gimel, the third element. And I guess that's it. So all for now, until next time, bye.